Welcome back to AsappJobs Lab, and today we'll see how to check if an object reference is null or not. This sounds like very easy at the first time, but it is not. So please don't escape and keep watching this video to get the right answer. Usually, we can see if a statement combined with this equal operator and this not equal operator to check if an object reference is null or not. Right? So you might have seen this kind of check if condition where we will check our object. If it is null, then we might return from here, or we might initialize some value to this object. In other side, we might have seen this case as well, where if object is not null, then we do some sort of operation like method calling through that object, just because here it will make sure that will not get any null pointer exception. Whereas if you'll call any method over here in this case, then definitely we'll have a null pointer exception in the runtime. And you might have observed that when we put this kind of check, this check we always put whenever we receive any variable value from outer side of our method or class, right? So let's assume if you have designed any method and somebody else is calling your method, and let's say if that method receive parameter as an argument, then the caller, right, who's calling your method can pass null value as well. And let's assume that through that object you are doing lots of operation work. So it is always good practice to make sure that those kind of objects doesn't contain any null value in it. Otherwise we'll get a null pointer exception. But now the question is checking your object is null or not through this method, or we can have some alternate method. Let's discuss about it. So from program point of view, this is fine. There's no problem in it. But here there are two major concerns. The first point is this null check can seen as clutter in your code. Means assume that if you're dealing with 100 variables as an object, then checking all these objects, whether it is null or not, like this if condition, it can look really ugly after some point of time. And to understand the second point, let's get back to our code editor, where we will create one example. And in that example, you will clearly see one problem which we cannot solve if you're using this equal or not equal operator to check the null value. So let's see that. Let's assume if we are creating a someone profile, some person profile. So for that, you have written one class called profile. In profile, we are just mentioning name of that person, right? So for that, you would create one variable name, and you will create one constructor, and that will be a parameterized constructor. Means you will be receiving some string value while creating this object, and you will assign that value to name like this. Okay, and to get this name, let's create one getter here. And inside a method, what you are doing, you are creating a one instance. Let's name it obj instance variable, and let's say you're passing name as in Raj. Okay, and at the end you are printing that name. As simple as that. And now if you execute your program, then you can see that your name will be Raj. So this is fine. And being the owner of this class, you know that if someone is creating that object, then in that case your name cannot be a null, right? So to prevent this kind of situation, you might have seen people will check this condition where str is not equal to null. If it is not null, then assign. So, and if you execute this program, then definitely the output is the same, name equal to Raj. But what will happen if you will pass null over here? And now you can see that in this case as well, your program is executing successfully and it is printing name equal to null. The reason being is when we have created this variable name, then we have not assigned any value in it, right? That means by default, it will contain a null value in it. And just because of this check, definitely it will not execute this line. That means at the end of the program, your name still have a value null in it. And now the problem is we are able to create a profile type object, and just because of that, when we are executing this, then it is returning name as a null. So programmatically, if you see that, it is fine, but logically it is completely wrong. So what would have been happened here in this scenario is, as soon as you execute this program, then your program should stop executing with throwing a error message saying that we cannot execute just because name cannot be null, something like that. So now you can see that what is the disadvantage of using this kind of check here. So definitely we are not going to use this. So what we'll do, instead of checking a condition like this, we will use objects class. So inside that objects class, we have one method called requireNonNull. So let's do that. This requireNonNull is a static type method, so we have to use objects class dot. Now you can see here requireNonNull. There are three types. We are going to discuss about this one and this one, first and second. So let's start with the first one. And here the object is nothing but this, the object which we need to check whether it contains null or not, right? So here we'll pass str. If it is not null, then this method will return the value itself. So let's say in our case, if I pass Raj here, then str will contain Raj. Then Raj is not equal to null, then in that case it will return Raj. Okay, so if I execute this program now, then you can see name equal to Raj. But what happened if I pass null over here? So now str value is null, right? So in that case, it will throw an exception. It will not execute. And now you can see we have got null pointer exception here. So if we are using this required non-null, and the caller which is calling to this constructor, if it doesn't have try catch, then it will throw a message like that. So it is always good to put your code inside this try catch block. So what I'll do, I'll put this piece of code inside try, and in catch I will simply print a message. So let's execute now again, and now you can see that message, a name cannot be null. So e.getMessage is printing null over here. And instead of null, if you wanted to print some customized message, then you can do that as well. So that is our second style of calling this method. So here in the second parameter, we'll pass some message. So let's say name is null. Now if you'll execute this, you will see name is null. And here if you have observed that in null case, this line is not getting executed, just because as soon as it will throw an error, it will come to this catch block. And that makes a difference. Just because we know that our system does contain null value, so there's no point of executing this line obj.get method. And if you're using any framework, a framework like Spring framework, then in that case, instead of using this require non-null method, you could use this method, not null, which has been defined inside this class assert. Okay, so that's it guys for today. I hope that you like this video. If you have liked it, then you may like this video as well. And making such kind of videos, it requires lots of hard work and time as well. So please do support us through your subscription and hit the bell icon as well to get more video notification like this. Thanks again, and see you in next video.